All right, cool. Well, hello there, everybody. Good to see you guys. Welcome, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Yes, please. Give me number 10 if you can hear me. Give me number 10 real quick if you can hear me in the chat. My name is Vic Strazius. Good to meet you. If we have not met each other, we're gonna get to know each other here. It's great to have you guys here. We're gonna be doing something really interesting here today and moving forward. So we're gonna be starting in about 30 seconds. I hope everybody's doing great, amazing. I hope the AV is great. Cool. Let's get this started. I'm actually looking forward to this hangout here because I have not done a live stream in probably like a year and a half publicly, something like that. It's great to be back, here with everybody. We were just busy with a private community working on stuff and just did not have the time. However, there is something going on that I feel every entrepreneur needs to be aware of. And how many of you guys are here building an online business right now? Yep. If you're building an online business, tell me what kind of business are you building? Is that direct sales? Is that multi-level marketing? Is that affiliate marketing? Are you doing your own coaching? Are you a coach, a consultant? Do you do e-commerce? What type of business are you guys building? And I'm going to be looking at your comments here from time to time because I like the two-way communication street. By the way, do you guys like the interactive environment here? Okay, I see a lot of affiliate marketing here. Cool. I see course creators, lots and lots of affiliate marketers, apparel, all right, e-commerce, somebody's doing coaching. Phyllis says, love it. Okay, consulting, digital consulting, AI automation. AI is getting pretty big, yeah, for sure. And a lot of people are, kind of a little cautious. Will AI replace what I'm doing? Will AI replace this industry or that industry? And yes, AI will replace a lot of stuff. However, there are some things that AI will never replace. Small business, Raul says, yeah. Lots and lots of you guys doing affiliate marketing. So if you're doing any kind of business, here is my question to you. What is the purpose of you doing that business? Okay, somebody, real quick, throw me a reason why did you get in business, right? Why did you get in business? Why are you trying to do what you're trying to do? Just don't try to be cute about it. Tell me straight up like it is. Oscar says make money. John says make money, right? Time freedom, Paul says. Freedom, get out of debt, make money, to help people, to make money, okay? Income replacement, helping people. Okay, this is interesting, all right? I would argue with you that most entrepreneurs start businesses for one single reason, because they want to make freaking money, okay? If we are true to ourselves, if we don't try to fool ourselves first and foremost, right? Who in the right frame of mind would leave their cushy 9-to-5, 40-hour work week, right, to work for themselves, step into the unknown territory, go through the unknown territory, and meet with, setbacks and hassles and, oh my goodness, sometimes you feel like you want to pull your hair out, and work 80, 90, 100, and 120 hours per week for themselves if they did not want to create a better lifestyle for themselves. More freedom, right? And all of that is paid for by this thing called money, ladies and gentlemen, correct? So if we get one thing very clear right now, get everybody on the same page right here. The reason you are here today, most likely, is because at the core of what you do, yeah, you want to help the world. Yeah, you want to change, replace your income and all that stuff. You want to help your family. You want to, whatever your reasons are, at the end of the day, I think, at the core, okay, if you can figure out how to make more money, a lot of the other problems, a lot of the other challenges could be solved by writing a check, right? And so, yes, Orlando, we are live. So yeah, moolah, Deborah says. Okay, want to make more moolah. Now, this topic about making money, a lot of people think this thing to be very, very mysterious topic, okay? Would you guys like to talk about this? In fact, what we're going to do is, if you are interested, right, if you like this kind of a conversation, and we're going to be super down to earth about it. We're not going to be fancy about it. We're not going to be philosophical about it. We're not going to be like, yeah, let's change the world about it. We're going to be like, okay, you today, right now, with all the craziness that's going on in the world, is it harder or easier to make money right now? Somebody tell me real quick, yeah? Is it harder to make money right now, or is it easier to make money right now? Don't think about anybody else. Think about you, wherever you live, United States. By the way, what countries? I'm actually curious. What countries do we have? Somebody says harder. Somebody says easier to make money, right? What is your country, ladies and gentlemen? Please, real quick, drop me a country. Where are you from right now today? Where are you listening to me from? Okay, lots of U.S. folks. We have any internationals. We got Canada in the house. I got New Zealand. I see New Zealand in the house. UK, Thailand, Australia in the house. I see a lot of Canadians here. I see New York as a country in the house. That's great. Dallas is a country in the house. Okay. Sweet. Austria, Australia, Israel in the house. Okay, so we have, worldwide audience here, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to do is we're going to start a series of talks like this, where we are going to be speaking entrepreneurs to entrepreneur. Okay, so an entrepreneur to an entrepreneur. Even though we've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people here live listening to me right now, I want to speak to you, the entrepreneur. Okay, is that okay? Do I have your permission on that? Yes? Because I want to talk about stuff that not a lot of people are talking about. I want to talk about stuff that's not going to be super philosophical and what we're going to do is we're going to straight up demystify this topic of making money, period. And somebody says it's harder to make money. Somebody said it's easier to make money. So we're going to tackle that. Now, if you are here and you want to figure out how to make money today with everything that's going on in the world, okay, I will tell you this, okay? Listen to me very, very close, ladies and gentlemen. Today, in 2025, it's way easier for some people to make money, and it's way, way, way harder for majority of people to make money. It's just a fact, okay? It is just a fact. So let's see. Here is a concept I'm going to draw to you. I'm going to share my, do you all see, hang on one sec here. Do you all see this, yeah? You all see this whiteboard? Let's get into you guys know that most, biggest companies in the world were started on a napkin at some kind of a restaurant or some place, right? So we're going to be using our napkin here, if you will, digital napkin. Hang on one sec. I want to move some screens here. Okay. All right. So watch this. Okay. Watch this, you guys. I want to make sure that everybody can see me. Hello. Okay. This is good. This is the first time we're using this platform. How do you guys like this platform, by the way? Is that good? If this is good, we're going to continue to use this platform. Is that a good platform? Chat is good. Everything is smooth. No issues. Okay, this is a private platform. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about. Yvonne Adams, how you doing, my friend? Yvonne Adams, good to see you here. How is Yvonne doing? Is Yvonne having a smooth experience here? Yep. If it's good, we're going to continue to use this platform here. The reason for that is because nobody can tell us what to talk about. Nobody can censor us. Nobody can tell us what is allowed and not allowed, and so that is something we like. Okay, cool. So I'm going to be looking at your comments here as well. Shoot, I think if I would switch them around, my video would be looking at this thing, but anyway, that's fine. I just got a couple monitors going on. Here's a concept. Okay, we've got 100 people here. Okay, let this pie represent 100 people. Okay, and this is an audience of 100 people. Now, about 80% of these guys, okay, that's about 80% or so, okay, 80% right here. 80% of these guys struggle. Okay, would you guys agree? About 80% of the world struggles miserably. They're barely making paycheck to paycheck, barely surviving, okay? And that's most of the people. This is just the fact. And this has been the case. This is the case in any company you go, any industry, any genre, anything that you touch. This is going to be statistical data, all right? The vision on a napkin, somebody says. Yes, all right. Now, these right here are the 20%ers, okay? Have you guys heard of the Pareto's principle? Yes, 80-20 principle. It's called the Pareto's principle. The 80-20. The 80-20 rule, okay? This applies to everything in your life. If you remember this, and we're going to be digging deeper into this as we go through the rest of this series here together, okay? Here is the fact. Whether we like it or not, the 80-20 rule applies to everything we do in life. And it certainly applies to people making money. Unfortunately, the 80%ers here, okay, these guys struggle because they are lacking a couple things. Who can tell me what these guys lack? Who can tell me what these guys lack, the 80%ers? What are they lacking? Are they not making money because they don't want to make more money? No, everybody wants to make more money. Everybody wants to have a better lifestyle, all that, right? Are they lacking, somebody says vision. I would argue, somebody says desire, mindset, okay? There is one thing that they're lacking, you guys. I don't think these guys are unmotivated. I don't think these guys lack desire. In fact, I think all of them. You don't find anybody in the world, you know, it doesn't matter if they're the richest or the brokest person in the world. You will never find anybody in the world where you will say, hey, do you want to have more money today? I'll tell you this. From the brokest of the broke to the richest of the rich, who is the richest guy right now? Is that Elon? At least on paper, right? At least publicly is what we know. Elon. Do you want to make more money, Elon? What would Elon tell you? Heck yeah, I want to make more money. Why do you need more money? Well, to him, it's a different type of a game. To him, money is just a scorecard. It's a different universe that he's living in. Everybody, if they're not lying to themselves, okay, if they're honest, everybody need. Why? Because money is like oxygen. It's not good or bad or anything like that, right? By the way, the reason I'm framing it like this because our conversations are going to be. I want to help you guys get your breakthrough without depending on anybody else. Not where you don't have to join business opportunities. You don't have to rely on some sponsors, some mentors. You don't have to join some companies or whatever. Because what we're going to be talking about is the rise of a new era for entrepreneurs, for digital entrepreneurs. And the gap between people making more money way easier and people making much less money much harder is going to be widened. And people that right here, let's go back to our napkin, digital napkin, right? People, these 80%ers, the reason that they are broke and disgusted with themselves, okay, and busted and upside down, just like I was at one point in time in my life, is because they're lacking this one thing called awareness. That's it. They don't know what they don't know. Would you guys agree with me on that? Everything circles around that. If they're not making, let's say, whatever their goal is, $20,000-$30,000 a month for them to comfortably live right now, or whatever the case, depending on the country, obviously. If they're not making that, if they're not making enough money to live comfortably, I'm not talking about everybody needs to be rich and and have just ridiculous amounts of money unnecessary. But I'm talking about whatever your dream is, whatever your desired lifestyle is. Where do you want to live? Where do you want to drive? Where do you want to vacation? Where do you want your kids to be to go to school? All that stuff, right? And you live comfortably. Most people would be great living that type of lifestyle. And so whatever that number on a monthly basis that you need to sustain that, okay, if you're not hitting that number, it's not because you don't have the desire. It's not because you're not working hard. In fact, a lot of these guys working 3-4 jobs, okay? But they don't know what they don't know. And so awareness is important. Now, these guys right here, okay, the 20%, they are more aware or less aware, would you say? Would you say they're more aware or less aware than the 80%ers? Okay, because these guys make more money. These guys making their ends meet, right? For the most part, but they're not really thriving, right? They're just like, they're up there and they're called, middle class, higher middle class, whatever, right? That type of stuff. And can anybody relate to that group? Right? They're not the Elon Musks of the world. No, but not by any stretch of imagination. They're like mid to higher middle class. Okay, these guys are also, they waking up in the morning, they're worried, they're hustling, they're grinding, they're jumping from opportunity to opportunity. Somebody says money is neutral. Yes, yes it is. Okay, money is a tool. That's right. Somebody says, who's Elon? I don't know, Google, and you'll find out, I guess, right? And so these guys are more aware. However, they're hustling. And the 80-20 rule right here, guess what? It applies to the top. The 80-20 applies here. Okay, let me see if we can. 80-20 also applies here to this little pie. Okay, so these guys also divide. We can divide them by like another 80-20 right here. Okay, so the pie looks like this. Okay, so this right here, all right, this right here applies to the top 20. So there's the 80-20 in the top 20%. You guys tracking with me on this? Is this making sense? I'm going with this somewhere because we're going to get into the strategies and positioning, strategies of execution and all this stuff. This is going to be really, really powerful. So then we have this. This becomes the 80%, and this becomes the 20%, okay, of the 20%. Make sense? Now, 20% of the 20% is basically 4%. Okay, so 4% of people, if you look at the data in any company, in any industry, in any genre, okay, you will find typically about 4 people out of every 100, they are absolutely crushing it. Now, these guys operate by different set of rules, and they operate differently, okay? Now, how many of you guys here have tried, and you've gone through from opportunity to opportunity, from thing to thing, okay? You getting your, you're reading motivational books, you're listening to motivational podcasts, and you're like, I feel it, my breakthrough is right there, but you're not quite there just yet, right? Let's go back, and I want to take us back to the very fundamental. I think with this first talk that I'm going to do here, I want to talk about a little bit about why some people are making money very, very easy. It seems to be very easy for some people to make money, very easy for some people to succeed. And I hope nobody here is going to be like offended when I talk about making money. I mean, if you don't like money, if you don't think this is something that you need for yourself, for your life, I don't want to waste your time. So, you probably might have some other better things to do. But if you're somebody that's hungry, if you're somebody that's like, dude, I've been busting my head against the wall. I've been joining this company and this program and this mastermind, that course, right, whatever, and you're still not getting it. I'm gonna try to open your eyes on some ideas here. Is that okay? Okay, and then we're gonna get into the the strategies here. So let's talk about where there are secrets to wealth. Okay, there are secrets to wealth. Now, there are laws of money, there are rules of money, there are universal laws that govern money, all that stuff. We're going to talk about that as we go further into this series of these events, of these talks together, and we're going to be talking about it. But I want to take everybody back, okay, and let's look at where the wealth has been hiding through the years, okay? There were different eras, and when people understand, okay, which era they live in, and then how that equates to where the wealth is hiding, where the money is hiding, and if they can position themselves, like if you know where it's going to rain, the weatherman is going to say, well, it's going to rain, southeastern side of this city, okay? And you want to get wet, all you have to do is just go to southeast side of that city. Make sense? Right? If somebody doesn't want to get wet, then obviously don't go there. So if you want to know where it rains, you got to know where to stand first and foremost, right? So watch this. Through the history, and this is going to bring us closer to what we're going to do next here, which is talk about strategies and plan of execution for everybody. I believe everybody listening to my voice today, I believe you guys are sitting on a gold mine right now because of the rise of this new era. And just like historically, there has been, let's call it, I don't know, wealth eras. Okay. By the way, give me, I don't see the, I don't see myself live streaming because I'm using my screen for this digital napkin. Let me know if you guys can see this. Yeah, I can just see your chat real quick. So, historically, there were different eras where the wealth has been hidden, and only those that understood it really could capitalize on it, right? So from the inception, where the humans were born, to about, 1750s, okay, or so, the era was agriculture. Okay, so from the days of Adam and Eve, back in the day when you read the greatest book on success, okay, the era was the agriculture era. So people that had land, okay, people that had land were wealthy. Very, very simple. So if you were born to a wealthy family that owned a lot of land, you were wealthy. You did not have to do anything. And if you were not born into that family, then you were poor the rest of your life. There was not much you could do back then. Okay? There's not much you could do back then to change that. And you were kind of stuck. So very, very few people had an opportunity to become wealthy. So there was very, very few wealthy people. Okay? And there were all of these other people that were just trying to survive, and they worked for the wealthy people. That's where, people that owned lands, and they were landowners, lords and ladies, and everybody, peasants were just working for them, right? And that era lasted very, very long time. Then the next era, right, after that, as these people were working with their hands and a lot of hard work, okay, then somebody came up with a concept of machines. So from about 1750, okay, to about 1950, okay, there was a different era, there was a shift in era, and it was called the industrial. Okay, the industrial era. Okay, who can tell me where the wealth was hidden then? Okay, let's see. Let me check the comments. Eddie, I'm not sure what that means. So from about 1750 to about 1950, mid-1900s, okay, it was industrial era. And people started to create machines because somebody says, well, why work so hard with your hands? And people lived very, very, people did not live very long because people were getting sick. They were working from dawn to, sunrise to sunset. And there was no structure. There's just a lot of hard work. Then somebody says, okay, we're going to create some machines. So then there was this industrial era, and the wealth shifted to people that did not necessarily own land anymore as much, to now people that owned machines. Okay? Machines equaled wealth. Okay? So people that created machines started to become very, very wealthy. Okay? That's where you see guys like Henry Ford, right? The Carnegies, the Rockefellers, right? I think labor unions were created back in that era. There was this concept of retirement, okay, that was created during this era as well. So these guys started to work for, a company on machines, and then somebody said, hey, instead of you working from sun up to sundown with no breaks, why don't you work this many hours for this long, and then you can retire? So that's the concept of retirement. So, but bottom line is this. Here's what I'm getting at, right? Different eras and wealth shifted. Okay. Now, as we get closer to our era, right now, from about 1950s to about 1978 or so, okay, because people created so much stuff here in this era, okay, in the industrial era, they needed, somebody said, okay, we gotta distribute this stuff. So the era shifted yet again, okay? And so from 1950 to 1978, we went into the distribution era, okay? Now, the wealth shifted yet again. So in the era of distribution, people that owned outlets, okay, wealth. I'm gonna go rather quickly here because we got a lot of stuff to cover, okay? So outlets equaled wealth. Tracking so far? So in this era here, we've got guys like Sam Walton, you know, created the distribution channel, Walmart, right? We've got Ray Kroc in the fast food industry, distribution, franchising was born. We've got malls started to pop up, right? We've got direct sales was introduced in the distribution era. So there was a lot more people becoming wealthy in that era just because if they understood how to position themselves, right? So multi-level marketing was introduced in that era of distribution. Infomercials was started in that era of distribution. So in other words, people that created outlets, okay, started to become wealthy, like really, 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 really wealthy. Now, and when you look at this, as we go down the history, right, and then come back to our age right here, when you guys look at this, check this out. Isn't it interesting that in the agriculture era, you know, up to about 1750, it was nearly impossible for somebody to become wealthy unless they were born into a wealthy family. It was virtually and practically impossible. Okay? Then the industrial era, isn't it interesting that it became a little bit easier for people to become wealthy even if they might not have started from a wealthy family, right? Make sense? So then as we get closer to our time, outlets, there were more people getting wealthy faster and a little bit easier. Okay, now this era, each of these era also started to create opportunities for other people to work with what's been happening in, Sam Walton created a lot of millionaires, right? Ray Kroc and all these guys, MLM industry started, and people that if they were just in the right place at the right time, they did not have to be the brightest. If they just understood the era that they lived in, and if they could position themselves, okay, in a proper place, it was a lot easier for them to get wealthy. You guys tracking? Yes? Okay, so as we go further now, the next era from about 1978, right? 1978 to about 1994 or so, okay? We went into the technology era. And in technology era, okay, people that understood tech, know-how, hang on a sec here, let me spell it right. Tech know-how equaled wealth. Okay, so in this era, we started to see guys like Bill Gates, okay, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, Michael Dell, right? These guys that understood technology, that were tinkering with technology, and they understood, they had this tech know-how, right? And a lot of these guys started to become really, 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 really wealthy. And also with them, they started to create a lot more wealthy people just through the power of association and collaboration. Tracking, right? How many millionaires did Microsoft create? A lot, right? So again, some of these people, listen to me, you guys, okay? Let me look at you when I'm telling you, because what we're going to talk about here, we are literally in the beginning of a new era for entrepreneurs, especially for entrepreneurs that we're going to talk about. And just like before, look at this. When Microsoft launched, right? People that, well, obviously Bill Gates, this guy was programming since very, very young age. And so he was ready when that era turned, or when that era came, right? He was prepared. Obviously, not everybody can be a computer programmer. However, during that era, who here can remember that everybody wanted to be a computer programmer? I remember when I was a kid. I was born shortly, well, yeah, I was born in technology age. I'm a, 1984. I remember when I was still a kid, when I was in school, middle school, right, high school, I wanted to be a computer programmer. Why? Because I was living in that era, and that's where things were happening. There was a lot of tech millionaires, right? Now watch this. When a company like Microsoft, okay, launched, a company like Apple launched, clearly the owners of this concept, of this company, they became very, very wealthy, ridiculously wealthy. However, people that were not the brightest necessarily, but they were in the right place at the right time, and they positioned themselves. Some people by luck, some people by having a little bit of a, maybe a feeling, or maybe intuition, or whatnot. But some people positioned, and they started to work for Microsoft early days. Janitors became millionaires. Some of them, if they saw, if they felt, if they had this intuition, something inside of them. Do you guys tracking with me on that one? Does that make sense? Apple and Microsoft created janitors, like people that mop floors and stuff like that, became wealthy through the association with some people in that particular era. Isn't it crazy? So as we get closer to our days right now, was it harder or easier for people to make money, right? See, where back in the day here, it was nearly impossible for just everyday Joes that were not born into wealth to become wealthy. As we go, it became easier and easier and easier for people to become wealthy. Yeah? Pretty cool. Now, let's move on here. And let's go to the next. So from about 1994 to, we got about 2004, okay? To about 2004, there was this info era, so information. Okay, I just had my screen closed up on me. Hang on one sec here, real quick. Okay, we're good. Yeah, we're live. Everybody good? Quick AV check. If it's perfect, give me a 10 real quick. If you guys having an issue, give me like a 1 or something like that real quick. 2 second. Live. Okay, all good. 20. Okay, I like that. Somebody says 20. Okay, that's good. Thank you. All right, so 1994 to about 2004, we go into the information era. And watch what happens here, ladies and gentlemen. Information era, the wealth shifts yet again, okay? In the information era, we now have information. So we're just going to say info, flow, control, equaled wealth. Okay, so people that controlled the flow of information. Okay, this was the first time in history where somebody did not have to create something. This was the first era in history where people understood how to simply channel the flow of information. They could become very, very wealthy. So, for example, who remembers Ask Jeeves? Yeah? Ask Jeeves. Who remembers, what was that? Was that InfoSeek? one of those guys. We've got Google, right? We've got Yahoo. Facebook popped on the scene, right? Even Amazon, right? So information, control of information, because some information you can't, you can't, sometimes you can create information, but a lot of the information you can't claim to be yours necessarily. But if you can control it, if you can control the flow of information, okay, that was the era of info flow control. So people that controlled the flow of information could become very, very wealthy. Okay, still true today to a degree. So then, and I'm going to go a little bit faster here because we still got a lot of stuff to cover. So from about 2004, okay, to what we got, to about 2010, okay, we entered a different era, and with all this information that was now becoming more popular and available, right, and control of information, then we stepped into an era, what are you going to call it, techno information entertainment. I know my handwriting is like chicken scribbles, so sorry about that. So basically here, from 2004 to about 2010, the wealth shifted yet again, okay? And now, in this era from 2004 to 2010, basically, it was packaging of information in a certain way, or systematizing the flow of information in a certain way. We're just going to call it systems, okay? So systems equals wealth. Okay, and I popped on the surface at about that era. Okay, so again, as we move closer to our day, or our days right here, okay, right here, I got online in 2005. I remember this like it was yesterday, because that, I saw somebody making money online. And I'm like, what? You can make money online? How is that even possible? Right? I was like, I have a fan, because I got married in 2004. And I got a new wife, and I'm like, okay, we're going to have some kids maybe one day, right? And I was like, dude, I love the idea of making money. I was not born into wealth, right? See, if we go down here, there was no way for me to get any breakthrough in life in this day if I lived here. My parents were not wealthy. Heck no. All right? Their parents were not wealthy. Heck no. Not here. Not here. Okay? Not even here. In 2005, I stumbled on this concept that you can make money online. And I was like, I am going to figure this out. I'm going to do this or I'm going to die trying. And I got so fired up. I was a complete novice. I was complete, I did not have money. I borrowed, I put my personal life on the side. I'm like, I'm going to figure this thing out. Okay, so that day and age, in that era, techno info entertainment era, is basically where people took information, okay, and they could channel that flow of information, package it in a certain way, and then present it through the media of online, right, channels, and they could trade that packaged information for money. And I'm like, you mean that I don't have to, you don't have to create, you don't have to create a physical thing. Like, you don't have to create a shoe or anything, or a t-shirt, and you don't have to manufacture anything, but you can just trade information for money and people will pay you, and you can get wealthy like that. I wanted to figure this out. So I got my start there. And a lot of stuff started to happen in that era from 2004 to 2010. We have the concept of affiliate marketing became really, really popular. How many of you guys remember that, right? Affiliate marketing, even though Amazon started it way, way, way before that, it did not get traction until about, mid 2005, early 2000s, up until about 2010, and it's still going really, really strong today. As a matter of fact, today, affiliate marketing, concept of affiliate marketing, is even stronger than back then, but it got its start back then, right? And then you've got things like business opportunities. How many of you guys remember different business opportunities started to pop in left and right? Oh my goodness, I remember there were all these kinds of schemes, and some of them were legit, some of them were like a little sketchy or whatnot, but people started to package information because it was so new, right? It was not, regulators did not, they started to start regulating that stuff a little bit later. But because the era shifted, people that were broke started to become very, very wealthy. Okay? So in that era, the wealth kind of shifted, and it became so much easier for people to become legit wealthy. And what I mean by wealthy, I'm not talking about Bill Gates type billionaire wealthy. I'm talking about creating a lifestyle that they truly dreamed about. You know what I mean? Creating that freedom of money freedom and time freedom for themselves and their families. And that's really what in my book, what wealth is. You don't have to be a billionaire to be wealthy. I mean, if you don't have to worry about, your bill tomorrow, you're wealthy. If you have abundance of time and you don't have to worry when you go to the restaurant, you know what I'm talking about? I say this metaphor a lot. When you go to the restaurant and you order from the menu, you order from left to right instead of from right to left, you're good. You know what I'm talking about? When you order from right to left, you look at the price. You're like, okay, 24, 34, 82, 116, oh heck no, $80, no, $10.99. I'm gonna have chicken tonight. No, you don't want chicken tonight. You want that ribeye steak. You want that, you want that dish that you want. So you look at the left side of the menu and you order what you want. Don't even look at the right side of the menu on the pricing table, because you don't care about that, right? When you go to the store and you get what you want instead of what you can afford, at the basis, ladies and gentlemen, isn't that what we're all after here? I'm not talking about trying to, going for billions or whatever. I mean, if that's your goal, cool. I think being a billionaire is a great idea. You have to create or solve so many problems for so many people, and then they compensate you with money. Money is not a bad idea, right? And that's a topic of a different conversation. We're going to talk about it. I think it's everybody's duty and obligation to become wealthy. It's your duty and your obligation to make a whole boat of money. And that's that's an official term. Okay, why? Because money is nothing more than a certificate of appreciation. If you think about it, a certificate of appreciation, right? So if if I give you this right here and you give me money, you win, I win, right? If I package information in a certain way that helps you get what you want and you pay me for that, it's a win-win. And if I can solve your problem and you pay me for me solving your problem, did I serve you? Yeah. Is that a good thing to serve other people? Is that a good thing to solve people's problems? Now, there's dark side of money. There's, I'm not talking about that, right? I'm talking about like at the surface level of it. And because a lot of people have this messed up perception about making money. People think, if somebody's making money, they got to be like a bad person or whatever. But if you think in terms of, okay, what are you doing? If it's noble, if it's good, if it serves people, isn't that your responsibility to do that at scale and serve people at scale, yeah? And when you do that, people reward you with a certificate of appreciation we call money. And then you take that money and you give it to somebody else that serves you, right? And money always flows. And we can talk about that. That's a different money mindset, psychology of money conversations. So if you guys want to talk about that, we can dig into that. When you understand universal laws that govern money, you will never be broke, ladies and gentlemen. It will be impossible for you to be broke. It will be impossible. Now, temporarily, yeah, sometimes things happen, right? Sometimes we go after a big idea and we put all of our money in this thing, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't work out. But at the end of the day, when you understand the universal law that governs money, money will never be running away from you. You will be like the magnet to money. Okay, so like if somebody takes away your money tomorrow, you can have it all back in a short period of time. It's just how it is, and it's a freaking insanely powerful ability to have that relationship with money, because you don't have to worry about economic situations. You don't have to worry about or be stressed out, because you're not tied to a job, you're not tied to anybody, you're not dependent on anybody. You understand that humans are all essentially the same. We're all connected in some way, right? And it's all about serving. If I can solve somebody's problem here and they pay me for it, it's called economy. I give you this, you give me $1, it's called economy on a micro level. And if I do that at scale, we make the economy go around. Okay? Where was I? Let's get back into this thing. So yeah, the 2004 to 2010, we're in the techno-info entertainment era, and basically packaging of information in a certain way systematically is where the wealth really was shifting to. Okay, now people, like I said, that never made money were breaking through left and right when they understood how to do that. Okay, now keep in mind, even then, the 80-20, this concept, okay, the concept of here always is present. Why? Because doesn't matter which era, okay, so as we go here, closer to our age, was it easier or harder for people to make money, ladies and gentlemen? Was it easier or harder for people to make money? Tell me real quick. Okay, it was easier. Okay, it was easier. Now, even though it was easier for people to make money, interesting thing is that the 80-20 principle applied in every era. Does that make sense? That's keep that in mind, because people that understood awareness and they could spot eras, okay, it was way easier for them to break through. So let's continue here. Then we go from 2010, okay, 2010 to about 2020. We shifted into another era still. And can anybody tell me what that era was? What happened at about that time? What happened in late 2000s? What happened? Well, we started to have social media, right? We started to have social media really gaining traction and gaining attention. Yeah? So we've got, somebody says crypto. So watch this. We shifted into another era, and that was the era of partnerships, and collaborations, and strategic collaborations. Okay? So what I mean by that is this. Okay? People that had a platform, so platform, and you can say strategic partnership or strategic collab, okay, equaled wealth. Let me explain. Okay? Now, what happened in 2000 and when did iPhone come out? 2007? Okay? 2007. 2007, iPhone comes out, right? iPhone comes out, great little gadget. People couldn't do much with it. So Apple says this. Apple says, we want to do something that has never been done. Hold on one sec. And Apple, in about 2008, Steve Jobs introduces Apple Store, right? And they say this: now you guys can collaborate with us. That has never been done in the history of humankind, where somebody could collaborate with a multi-billion dollar, currently multi-trillion dollar company without really manufacturing anything, right? It's all through digital stuff. So what happened was we started to see strategic partnerships, and this is where big boom started to happen in social following. This is where a lot of influencers started to pop on the surface, right? This is where we started to see this talk about personal brand. How many of you guys remember, right? This personal brand. It's still a big talk today, right now. But watch this. It gets very, very interesting here, okay? So from 2010, about 10 years, to 2020, okay, approximately, there has been a huge boom in people getting themselves on a platform, Facebook, Instagram, right? All these social platforms. And what happened during that era, okay, watch this. Facebook, when did Facebook launch? I don't know, but somewhere in there, bro, 2000 and early 2000s probably, right? They became really, really popular. They really blew up about after 2010. How so? The era of strategic partnerships and strategic collaborations. The era of the influencers, right? The platform era. So people that owned a platform, even though it was on rented land, watch what happened. How many of you guys remember seeing billboards? Okay, hang on one sec. Are we good? We're live, yes? 2004, yeah. Facebook started 2004. Okay, let me know if you guys are with me here. If we're live, yes? Okay, good. So what happened was this: companies used to run advertisements. They would pay a lot of money to buy a billboard on the side of the road, right? And they would advertise their company, and the call to action was follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ their username of the company, their tag, right? Their handle. How many of you guys remember that? AV is good? We're good? Live? Okay, good. Thank you for the feedback. So there was a big boom. So influencers started to really pop on the scene, right? We've got personal brand, people like follow me on social. And then people that build social following during that era, if they would understand how to monetize it by strategic collaborations and partnerships, it was easy for them to make money. All they would have to do is channel attention, okay, to a collaborative partner basically some kind of a promotion or sell something, because you really make money two ways. You make money by either selling a service or selling a product. That's it. Initially, right? That's the active income. So we initially make money by either selling a product or a service. And then once you have enough money coming in, then you can have money making babies for you, where you have money working for you through investments and that kind of stuff. That's passive income now. But initially, there's really only two ways to make money. Somebody goes to a job, they trade hours for dollars. That's a service type deal, right? They serve the company, they provide service, and then they get paid. Or you can be an entrepreneurial, you can make a product, you can sell that product, and then you make money. That's really the only two ways you can make active income there. Anyway, so these influencers, these people would they would, collaborate with companies to sell their products. And affiliate marketing became even stronger then in that era. Okay, personal brand. And then we go into, hang on one sec here, let me get to the right screen here so I can get back to my thing here. Then we're getting into our stuff here. Now, what happened? What do you guys suppose happened? What were some of the challenges here in this era? Okay, what were some of the challenges in this era? So platforms and strategic collaborations equaled wealth here. And this is the era, really the first time in human history, ladies and gentlemen, where kids could become millionaires. Let that sink in. Somebody says pandemic. Okay? But I tell you this, pandemic don't matter. Pandemic was whatever it was, right? So watch this. This was the first era in human history where literally kids, 16, 12, 8-year-olds, became millionaires. Never in the history of humankind this ever happened. Through the collaboration of this. Now, then what started to happen is this, is as these platforms started to become bigger, okay, become more powerful. Remember, platform and strategic collaboration. So owners of the platform, Facebook, Instagram, what did they start to do? So the very same people that build the platform, the very same people that advertised on billboards saying, hey, follow us on Facebook, and got paid their money to bring people to Facebook platform, did these people own the platform? No, right? They did not own, but they advertised, they basically built Facebook virally. So Facebook gets super, super big, okay? Facebook is like, okay, we're gonna give you guys these groups, Facebook groups. We're gonna give you live stream so you can do live streaming, yeah? And everybody is like, yay, this is great. Then what happened? Facebook said, we're gonna change our algorithm, and we're gonna tell you what you can and cannot say. As I hear it says, Facebook was growing their platform. Okay? They created a monster. Well, the users of Facebook built Facebook. Why? Because everybody invited their friends, everybody brought their own community or people and community onto Facebook platform, and then Facebook said, we're going to dictate what you can and cannot say. And then we started to see, not too long ago, right? A few years now. Then we started to see things like censorship. Then we started to see things like people losing their accounts. Then we started to hear about horror stories of people building their following on Facebook, dedicating a decade or 2 decades of their life, building up a community or a following on Facebook, and then wake up in the morning to see their account being completely wiped out. How many of you guys have heard stories like that or have seen stories like that? Even from these massive giant influencers. And not only Facebook, but that started to happen on Instagram. That started to happen on YouTube. That started to happen on every single social platform. Okay? Things started to shift. And so a lot of these people are like, oh, wow, what just happened? So then, let me go back here. From about 2020, okay, watch this. From about 2020, okay, to, I would say, current, okay, what do you guys see happening right now? What do you guys see is happening right now? Okay, there is a massive shift that started to happen right now, and just like in all these previous eras here, just like kids could make millions in this era, okay, some of them lost their account, some of them are scrambling. And by the way, what started to happen here is a lot of these influencers started to do what? They're like, oh no, we don't control this thing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to our main free platform, okay? And we're gonna get attention there, and then we're gonna start to channel some of our followers into a private community, right? You guys notice that? So people started to channel their audience into like Patreon, and they're like, how can I monetize? If I have Facebook slap, if I do, if I've got YouTube slap, if they throttle me, how many of you guys have a following on social media? Like legit, who here has a following on social media? Let me look at your comments right now real quick. Who here has a following on social media, yeah? Do you all remember in early 2010s, right? Late 2000s, early 2010, when if you had 1,000 followers on Facebook, and you would post something, pretty much 90% of your people would see your post. Yeah. What happens when you post something on social right now? What percentage of your people will see that post? 1, 0, 2%? Yeah, maybe between 1 and maybe 2%, maybe 3%. Okay, of people will see your post. So right now, there is a massive shift that already started to happen. And just like with every shift in the history of humankind, some people, when they have the awareness, when they see what's happening, and they can adjust, they can reposition, right? They can strategically position themselves where it's going to rain money. Okay, it's like 10 times, 100 times easier for these guys to start making real wealth, start making real money, creating breakthroughs, much easier than those that are not aware of these things. Make sense? So watch what happens. Let's go back here. So what happens here is about 2020, this started to happen. Okay, we went into yet another era, and I would call it a private community era. Okay, so private community era is very, very interesting. Now, these guys that were building their following on the all these massive social medias platforms, they started to realize that, hey, my reach is no longer serves me. It becomes pretty irrelevant, right? So now I'm going to start channeling those people to a private community. Somebody says Telegram. How many of you guys see people from social media channeling people into Telegram groups? Yeah? How many of you guys see people channeling people into WhatsApp groups? A lot of these influencers here, they're like, hey, join my private group on WhatsApp, on Telegram, etc., 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 on Patreon, right? And then you got this. So basically, where the wealth is now hiding at is private, okay, platform equals wealth. All right? So no longer do you need 100,000 followers for you to be wealthy like before. You can't reach them. No point. There is absolutely no point for you or for anybody to be getting tons and tons and tons of followers on social. It's not the same no more, and it's going down, right? It becomes more noisy by the day. Smart entrepreneurs or smart creators, right, started to channel people, and they understand, hey, I would much rather have 1,000 members of my community in a private environment than to have 100,000 people out there on some social public network. You guys understand what I'm saying here? Paul is saying too many platforms. How many of you guys have seen, okay, that there were companies that started to pop on the surface, such as Circle.so? They have been around for a while. This is a private community platform, right? And a lot of these influencers, the Gary V's of the world, that was like, You gotta post 50 million times a day on every single platform, blah, 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 until you're blue in the face, and then hire a team to do it for you and all that. Basically, no sleep, just post, 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 and sell your soul to the content machine of the social media, right? What did Gary do? Gary's like, ooh, I can't freaking reach my people on social media no more. So I'm gonna go to community platform where I'm gonna build my own, text messaging community. All right? You got circle.so, you got school.com. How many of you guys have heard of school.com? Yeah? A platform popped up. You've got WAP, right? And these influencers that were like personal brand. Watch this. What happens now is these guys are now starting to create their own little platform, right? That they control, which is more private, right? And then other people can create a community on that platform. Okay? Now, can you guys tell me what is good and what is not so good about this? This is a brand new trend, right? So this is a brand new trend. I'm actually curious, how many of you guys have the awareness when you see this happening based on the historical data here, at least from like 2004, from here to current, okay? What do you suppose is going to happen to the private platforms? Right now, this is a shift that's happening. Okay? Paul says still not in control, right? Okay? Here is what's happening. Bet for building someone else's platform. All right? Here is what's happening. Watch this. Let me look at you. So what's going on is this. Is people are shifting from a big social media giant platform to more of a private platform, which is better, right? However, when it comes to making money, this is where I'm circling back. I'm going to give you guys $1 million strategy here. Who's ready for $1 million strategy? Who's ready for that? Okay, because we're about to blow the roof of what's happening here in the industry right now. We are entering into a new era called the private community era, but there is a twist. There is a little deception going on that nobody is seeing. Well, some people are seeing, but most people are not seeing because they're just following the blind like sheep, right? And so on the surface, everything is cool because it's a new concept, just like back in the day, everything is cool. Let me walk you through this concept right here, okay? When you have a private platform, okay? So when you have a private platform, so right now, basically private platform, a lot of people are making money. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, right? Right now, if you start building a private community on a platform or in a group that you control, you will make more money than if you were to focus all of your attention on social media. Now, I'm not saying to ban social media forever. Personally, I have not been on social media for a very, very long time. Okay, I did not really care for it that much. What social media is good for is just to get attention, and then as soon as you got somebody's attention, channel them into your private platform, into your private group. Okay, now then what do you do there? Okay, the way you make money, remember, is doing two things. Only two ways you make money. You either sell a product or you sell a service. The product can be yours or somebody else's. The service can be yours or somebody else's. Now, it gets a little bit tricky, and most people don't see this. Let me take you on another quick history lesson of marketing, okay? And let me show you another timeline here. And this is going to be for entrepreneurs. Okay, so this is for entrepreneurs. We had Well, there's another timeline. Okay. So in the early days, where the distribution, this started here. Okay, this started about, where was the distribution? This was right here. Okay, distribution, outlets. Okay, the era of distribution, 1950s. Okay, this thing started, watch this, we're gonna do a parallel. So there was, people were making money, a lot of it, through direct mail. Okay, so there was an era of direct mail. It started from the distribution right here. Boom. Okay. Then, watch this, ladies and gentlemen. We went from that era, okay, to, from direct mail, then we went into a website era. Okay. And a website era was basically like, hey, these guys are like, okay, it's getting a lot more expensive to send snail mail. All right. There is this concept of a website, and we're gonna do website. We're gonna build a website, and it's gonna be digital, and our store, and people can just go to our website and they can buy. And that was revolutionary, wasn't it? Right? Everybody wanted to have a website. So there was a website era for selling, for getting their products out, right? Then, from the website era, who can tell me what replaced traditional websites? And they were great in the time, right? Because I can go to somebody's website and I can see all their million products or whatever, right? And I can read a whole bunch of stuff. And then there comes this concept, right? Created by a company called ClickFunnels. Great company. We used them before, right? And it's a good company. Called ClickFunnels, and they said what? They said websites are dead, right? And they have introduced a new concept called funnels. Okay? Funnels. So funnels basically lasted for about 10 years. Okay, the title of today's meeting, the first meeting here today, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in my, as far as I remember, I started online in 2005, right? As I told you. Up until just recently here, okay, funnels built entrepreneurs. So funnels was the big concept, because funnels were, social media was working with, it was okay, for you to advertise funnels. You did not really have to have a home base. You did not have to have anything beyond the funnel, right? So funnels was going on for over 10 years now. Now watch this. As social media, these big platforms started to get more traction, right? Started to get bigger. They started to change the algorithms. They started to look, and again, because of all these influencers here, right? It's all connected. Because of all these influencers here, all these kids, okay, and anybody could spin up a funnel very, very easily, okay, and then started selling whatever in the world they wanted, good or bad or anything in between. A lot of these companies now started to throttle businesses in terms of how they are being structured. Now, if you are smart, that I know that you are, you're going to listen to me very, very closely, because what I'm about to tell you, it will shift the way you do business moving forward forever. Watch this. A concept of a funnel is a great concept to make immediate sale fast, right? What is a funnel? A funnel is nothing more than a sequence of pages structured or presented in a certain way, in a certain order, to engineer a particular outcome. It can be an opt-in, can be a sale, an upsell, etc. And then the end. That's basically it. Okay? Basically, engineer a transaction. You guys tracking? So that's basically a funnel. Now, is funnel a business? Somebody tell me. Is sales funnel a business? I'm looking at your comments. Is sales funnel a business? If you said no, you would be right. A sales funnel is not a business. A sales funnel is nothing more than a path to a business, right? Think of it as a gateway. Think of it as a door to a business. Now, what happened is this. When everybody got a hold of a sales funnel, right? And they started to spam their sales funnels all over, Facebook, Google, all these giants said this: we don't want to work, we will not be favorable to people peddling just transactional business. So they started to punish people that don't have a real business. They started to punish people in terms of higher ad costs, higher traffic, costs to be able to do paid ads. They started to throttle people that were just promoting on their social following, to their social media following, just a website that has no business behind it, right? And so these companies, social media companies and platforms, said this: we would much rather work with businesses, real businesses, than solo, independent, fly-by-night entrepreneurs or marketers. You guys understand what I'm saying? And so what started to happen is the concept of a funnel, okay, is it became more expensive to acquire a customer. When you acquire a customer through a funnel, where do you put it? Where do you put the customer? Where do you send the customer? Where do you deliver the product? So here's what started to happen. Funnel people, right? The people that are funnel owners, the funnel marketers, that build their business, that had a funnel-based business. They started to see cracks, major cracks in their business. Higher ad costs, lower retention, lower attention span, impossible for them to bring their customers together. So people started to duct tape a lot of things together, right? So I'm going to have a funnel over here with a funnel building platform or whatever. And then we would send people over to Facebook group. How many of you guys did that? You had a funnel and then you're like, okay, my customers, we're going to be in a Facebook group right here. So join our community in a Facebook group. Okay? So you started to duct tape things. And then you would be like, okay, how do I talk to my community? Well, I'm going to deliver my content on a Teachable or Kajabi or Thinkific or whatever other platform there. And then I'm going to communicate with them via like a webinar like this. If I want to get them in the room, that's private. Facebook is going to throttle me, so I'm not going to do Facebook Live. Nobody's going to see that anyway. So I'm going to have to get like Zoom, or maybe I'm going to do Facebook, or a YouTube channel right here for webinars like this, etc., etc., etc. So it started to get very noisy. Customer experience went down the drain, right? People started to get more distracted because there's more noise, more distraction. And so your customers, in other words, for business owners, it started to become a problem. So we now are in this weird position right now where the funnel-based business, if people have a funnel-centric business, that business model, ladies and gentlemen, is collapsing right now. The funnel-centric business is not sustainable for the reason because unless there is something beyond the funnel. So if for most people there is nothing beyond the funnel, right? So in other words, if you just have a door, a funnel which is just a pathway, supposed to be a door to a house. But if you have a door, somebody walks in and you transact, metaphorically speaking, but there is no house, right? Then they're like, what do we do? Well, you go here, and then, for the second product, you have to go to this other funnel, and then people like, okay, whatever, and so it creates chaos. So funnel-based business, and I want to make a distinction here. The concept of a funnel does not go away. However, the concept of a funnel-based business, where your business is built only on a funnel, and you don't have a real business, and you're still duct taping things together, you don't have a home base, you don't have a place where you control and bring customers to, okay? you don't have a business. And it's going to become harder and harder and harder and harder for those people that run those types of businesses or that type of business model to be making money and becoming wealthy, getting that lifestyle that they want. Does that make sense, you guys, right? So what is the solution now? Listen to me, entrepreneur. What is the solution? What do you guys think the solution is? Well, you can see what happens is this, is we are in the middle between, this era, this was the funnels era right here. And then here, we've got this private platform. So we can say, in this era, this was a funnels era, okay? This era right here is getting transitioned over to private community. Okay, watch this. Okay, what do you guys see happening right here? We've got company like School, right? A platform like School. Good platform, okay? However, I'm not talking about a company specific here. I'm talking about a model. I'm talking about an era, ladies and gentlemen. When you understand this, this is going to change your future forever. Watch this. The era, okay? What private platforms or private community platforms do right now is they say this. They say, you don't need a funnel. You guys tracking? They say, you don't need a funnel. Well, what do I need? Well, they say, you just send people directly to your private community registration page. Yeah, they say, you need a community. Now, let me ask you a question. Is that complete full pie, or is that a part of the pie, or is that a piece of the pie? What happens in the future when this thing gets scaled even more, right? Well, that's a part of the pie because these guys are bending in funnels. They say you don't even need a funnel, just send them straight to a community page, build a community, which is nice. However, here's what happens here. So we are moving right now, literally as I talk to you guys right now, okay, we're moving from a funnels kind of a era here for marketers to a what's called a community, okay, to a community era. Now, what is a downside for an entrepreneur? Well, if I have a community here, okay, if I have a community, let's say this is my let's say this is a platform, and then this is Vic, okay? Let's say this is my community on this platform. This is John. This is Mary, okay? This is Joe, and this is like Patrick, and this is Anna, okay? Etc., etc., etc. So, watch this. When I am on this platform, I am on a rented land. Am I not? I'm on a rented land. I'm renting space from this platform, okay, this cloud right here. And this is Vic. This is my what's called home, my private community on a rented land. So what I do, okay, is when I bring a customer and I say, hey, join my group right here, that's better than me building it on social media, isn't it? It's better for me to have this customer in my private community than it is for me to have, I would much rather have 1,000 people in my private community than to have 100,000 people on like Facebook that I cannot reach. You guys tracking with me? Okay. Now, what's the problem with this concept? Well, let's say that I am a beginner. Let's say that I'm just starting out and maybe I have my first 20 people that I bring to my community. My 20 people right here get into my community, right? That on a platform that I don't control. They have to sign in, and when they sign into the platform and they check out my private community, okay, and there's a couple things that I gotta do, right? I gotta deliver value, I gotta entertain to keep attention, right? I gotta communicate, Okay, I got to be able to sell because I need to make money. I got to serve them, right? Give them solutions, all that stuff. Now, what happens if I am a little bit of an introvert? What happens if I don't have a lot of value to give them? Okay, what happens if I don't have anything to sell yet? How many of you guys are in that boat right now? Okay, how many of you guys here, you are starting out, you see the concept, you see what the big gurus are doing, and you see the numbers that they're making. Listen to me, right? And you're like, hey, I'm gonna do that. So you're gonna start shifting your approach and your strategy to do what the big gurus are doing right now. Okay? Here's what's happening. Your 20 people come in here to your community and they're like, this thing is dead. There is no activity. There is like 5 people here. How many of you guys can relate to that? Okay? And they're like, I see there is Pat over here, and I'm just like one click away. You're 20 people, that is. They're one click away to checking out Pat's community. And Pat has 200 people. And Mary has 2,000 people. And Anna has 5,000 people in her community, right? And you invited them for the topic of whatever you're into, and then Pat is doing something similar, but he's doing it at a much at more advanced level, and he is much more entertaining. And your 20 people check out his community, they can join for free. And then what's going to happen? What do you suppose is going to happen here, ladies and gentlemen? What do you suppose is going to happen? Let's get real, yeah? What's going to happen? They click and they are in the Pat's community. And they're click and they're in Anna's community. And Anna is like, oh my goodness, we're bubbling over here. We're popping, we got 5,000 people and everybody is happy and there's a lot of activity. And Anna is going to teach them something similar to what you're teaching them. What's going to happen to your people? You got nothing. Your people just got distracted. Right? Your people just got... Do you see what's happening right now? So there is a shift that's happening. And at the same time, there is a massive pandemic of, there's more and more noise happening, is what's happening, right? And so this right here is going to be, unless something drastically changes with this model, right? I'm not talking about the big guys. I'm talking about the average starting entrepreneur that has an idea. You have something that you can tell to your 5 people, your 5 customers, because your millions are going to start with you making your first dollar. Your 1,000 member community is going to start from you inviting your first member to your community. Here is what you need to understand. You need to have control of what your people are exposed to. How many of you guys agree with me on that? If you don't have control, okay? If you don't have control, it will be very, I'm not saying impossible, but it will be very, very difficult for you to build your community, especially if you're just getting started. It will be nearly impossible because of all that distraction that's going on, okay? And even if you make a few bucks here and there, it will, again, this is a business model that is kind of like this era here, okay? Kind of like this era where people would advertise to go to Facebook and follow us on Facebook, and they build their following over there. They did not own Facebook, right? Facebook decided the algorithm. Facebook decided who gets shown who and what people get reach what. Facebook groups said, okay, we're going to be more private. We're going to give you guys community. And then the more people, launched their Facebook group, the more distraction, the more noise started to happen. So those became obsolete. In my opinion, something similar is happening in this era that is currently gaining massive, massive momentum. Now, what is the solution here? Okay, there is going to be another era that we are going to be talking about, and that is this concept, okay? Basically, taking this right here. Hang on a sec, let me do this proper. Okay, you guys can see this? So taking this concept right here, starting with that, combining the two, okay? And then there is going to be a new era emerging. It needs to happen. 2025 to future is going to be the era of the hub. Write that down. Don't forget it. The era of the hub. And I'm talking about a real, true hub. It's not AI agents, okay? And let me speak about the AI a little bit, and I'm going to talk to you about the era of the hub and how you can position yourself, yeah? There is going to be an era of the hub, and that's the future of business, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to talk to you about that in just a second. Now, let me speak on this topic of AI. How many of you guys have seen courses being sold and being hyped up about, hey, learn how to create courses without speaking, without delivering content, by just utilizing AI? How many of you guys have seen that crap on the internet? How many of you guys have seen courses being sold for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 teaching you how to create courses with AI? Let me ask you a question. How many of you guys would buy a course or be excited to buy a course and pay $2,000 or $1,000, heck, even $500, knowing that that course was created by AI? How many of you guys would be excited to that? Legit. So in theory, it sounds cool. It sounds, you don't have to do the work. But ladies and gentlemen, drill deep into the foundations. Think logically, think common sense stuff. Would you be excited to buy some course that was created completely by AI? And you like, yeah, I got a course for $500. It was created by AI. There's no human behind it. There is no real experience of the human, right? I'm telling you this crap is going to go down the drain just like the NFTs went. You guys remember NFTs world? How many of you guys remember NFTs? How many of you guys remember the hype about NFTs? Buy this NFT, it's going to go up, it's going to be $200,000, it's the future, blah, 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 blah. What happens to them? People that bought NFTs for $200,000, right? Then later they sold them for like $20. Okay? There is a place for AI, but AI will never ever replace certain things like a human experience, like human connection. AI will never replace that. AI will never ever replace a real, genuine community. AI will never replace a real human interaction, a heart. AI will never replace emotion, an emotional connection with humans. AI will never replace this when I'm talking to you and I'm reading your comments. And when I say something with conviction, and my words are one thing, my facial expression is another thing, but there is an invisible thing that you feel. It's called the feeling. It's called intuition. It's called the inner connection. When I talk to you like this, AI will never replace that. You don't have to worry about that. You guys understand what I'm saying, right? So, the future of business, ladies and gentlemen, is not AI. AI is just going to be a tool. We're going to use AI. It's going to help with a lot of different things, but it will not replace human-to-human basic needs and basic interactions and basic solving of the problems on a human level and community and stuff like that, right? So, with that said, here is where the puck is going. How many of you guys would like to position yourself where the puck is going? As Wayne Gretzky would say, right? He's like, I want to go where the puck is going in hockey instead of where the puck is at. A lot of people are like, right here, where the puck is at right now is like private community, I'm going to go to school. And again, I'm not talking about a particular company here, ladies and gentlemen. They do what they do, whatever. I'm talking about a much bigger idea here. I'm talking about a much broader, more futuristic, where things will be going. I mean, if you see this with your common sense, you'll it's impossible to not see. Does that make sense? So here is what is going to happen. People that focus all of their attention on building a private community or a private group on a rented land that they don't own is going to be just like people building followings on Facebook. Okay? In my opinion, and I'm very, very adamant about that. Second thing, a distraction and noise will increase. Because as more people launch their private communities and it's on the same platform, what's going to happen? More noise, more distraction. It's great for the platform. It's bad for the person trying to break through. So what's the solution here? The solution is going to be, we're going to enter a hub-centric model. And a hub-centric model is going to be this. A hub is a center of activity, basically, center of activity. That's a hub. And a hub has all of the previous things here. Okay, a hub is not a website, but it has a website built in a certain way. A hub is not a funnel, but it has funnels built in a certain way. A hub is not a community, but it has a community built in a certain way. A hub is your island in the ocean. Make sense? A hub is this concept right here. How many of you guys would like to have your own private network, your own, watch this. How many of you guys would like to have your own platform that you have the keys to? That's going to be the future. How many of you guys would like to own, not rent, but actually own your own private platform that you have the keys to? In other words, here's what I'm talking about. Instead of all of these guys, it's this. You bring your customer to you. Well, I'm going to say you right here. Your private hub. Okay? You bring your customer to your island in the middle of the ocean that you have the keys to. And that's going to be the future. This hub is your home on the internet. This is your future. This is your business. This is your stake in the ground. This is your idea. This is your voice. This is your algorithm that you decide, right? What to do. You create your own rules. You're not in the mercy of anybody. You can use social. You can do paid ads, free ads, social ads, whatever. All that. Get attention. Bring people to your home, and you have the keys, and nobody can take it away. Couple things there. It's not on a rented land. It's on your land. Okay? You own the land. It's your thing. It's your domain. It's a sellable asset. In other words, as you build your community, this thing becomes more valuable, right? In other words, you are becoming your own mini Facebook. You are becoming your own school platform, I'm talking, and much more. You are becoming your own WAP, not renting place from WAP or the likes, but you are becoming your own platform. Does that make sense? How many of you guys like this idea? How many of you guys find this idea to be interesting and you would like to know more about that? And I'm not talking about you joining some business opportunity, but I'm talking about this. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in human history, what we are able to do is we are able to combine multiple eras where the wealth has been hiding at, combining multiple eras into one, and you are the owner of it. The Zuckerberg was the owner of Facebook, still is. You used it, he kicked you out. Okay? If you're on somebody else's platform right now, that's fine. Temporarily, you might be fine, you might be okay. But just understand, the pros and cons about that. I'm telling you, it's shifting. You can be the Zuckerberg of your own world. You can be the YouTube of your own world. You can be the Instagram of your own world. And as you build your community, here is the thing. 1,000 members is what you need to focus on. 1,000. Remember that. 1,000. Write that number down. Okay, put it big letters or big numbers, put it on your mirror, write this number. We're going to be talking about this number a lot. This is your number to freedom, ladies and gentlemen. 1,000 is all you need. 1,000. You don't need 100,000 people. You need 1,000 members. Okay, that's all you need. This is your number. I want everybody here to understand that. I want everybody to write that number down. We're going to be talking a lot more about that in the upcoming sessions here. I got a question for you guys. We're going to wrap with this session. Would you like to dig deeper into this concept? Would you like to know more about this emerging new era that is unfolding right before our eyes? Very, very few people can spot it right now. It's very stealthy, meaning it's under the radar. But those that position themselves right now, if you start capitalizing on these things right now, it would be 100 times easier for you to build true wealth, meaning create the lifestyle that you want without the headaches, without dependency on some platform or some guru or some guy or some gal or some platform, or being the mercy of somebody. You get to call your shots without bringing your people to a platform and then being afraid of, are they going to be distracted with other, fellow entrepreneurs? If you're a beginner, if you are just learning this thing, would you like to know how you can, first time in history, in the human history, be able to make money easier and faster than at any other time in human history? If you're in for that, type 1,000 here in the chat real quick. Type 1,000 if you want to learn more, because we can, if you guys want this, I'm going to host a series of a few more events like this. I've got nothing to sell to you. We're going to be talking about this concept. This is the future of business. This is the future of entrepreneurship. This is the future of digital entrepreneurs. This is the future, period. Every company, every influencer, every creator, every mastermind guy, every affiliate marketer, every network marketer, anybody that's got a voice or got an idea or got a product or service to sell, everybody will be utilizing this model in a very, very near future. I'm talking about hub-centric business model. It's no longer going to be funnel-centric business. Funnel-centric business model is collapsing. Hub-centric business is replacing everything. It shatters everything to pieces. So type in 1,000 if you're in for this, and then we're going to schedule another event like this. Have you guys enjoyed this? Did you get some good information from this? Yes? You guys excited to get to learn a little bit more about this kind of stuff? If you're excited to learn a little bit more, stay tuned. We're going to schedule another event. I'm going to tell you when it is going to be, but we're going to schedule another event like this. Be attentive to your email. If you got an invite by somebody here to this event, they'll invite you. And then we're going to talk about this. We're going to pioneer and lead a hub-centric movement. And I'll tell you more about that in our next meeting coming up. Okay? Thank you, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned a thing or two about a thing or two. And I'm telling you, making real money, building a real business has never been easier than it's going to be in this era that we're entering. And I cannot be more excited about it. Cannot be more excited for you guys. And I'm looking forward to hanging out with you in our next meeting coming up. Stay tuned. Until then, God bless.